Hello there, and welcome to yet another episode of the Kab Python series. My name is Simon, and let's get started. So, in this video, we shall be looking at the conditional statements. Under the conditional statements, we have the if statement, the if-else statement, the if-elif-else statement, and finally, we have the nested if statement. So what are the conditional statements? Conditional statements allow you to execute a block of code only if a specified condition is met. So last week, in one of our videos, we looked at logical operators. We also looked at comparison operators. So we said that when you're dealing with comparison operators or relational operators, you do a certain operation, but then it returns true or false. You try to do some comparisons, and the final output which you get from such an operation, you get an answer of either true or false. So today in conditional statements, we are taking a step further. Instead of just getting the answer true and that is it, we want to see if the answer is true, what do we do? If it is false, what do we do? So that is the use of conditional statements. These are very crucial in programming, as you will see, because there is a lot of decision making that takes place when you're writing computer programs, and you will find yourself using them quite a lot. Yeah, they help us in decision making by checking conditions and performing different actions based on whether the condition is true or false. Okay, so let's begin with if statements. The if statement is used to test a single condition. If the condition evaluates to true, the block of code within the if statement is executed. If it is false, the code block is skipped. Okay, I hope this is clear. We try to use our comparison operation and try to pose a certain question, and if the operation returns true, then the code which we write inside the if block is executed. If it is false, nothing happens. This is the syntax. We're going to do to practice this in a little while. So we begin with if. You write the if word. This is the keyword if. Then you give your condition here. So the condition here is the comparison operation. You can say if this is this, if this is this. We are going to see in a nutshell. Then you write all the code that you want to be executed if this condition which you have put here is met. You can write as many lines of code as possible, but they have to be in this block of code. Okay, that is the syntax. So we can have an example like that. Let's have it in VS Code. Okay, let me try to zoom in a little bit. Okay, yeah, hope this is fine. So I've defined my variables here. I'm having x being equals to 40. We have y being equals to 30 and z being equals to 20. So now I want to do some uh, practice, and I show you how you can use if statements to evaluate some of the comparison operations that you can perform here. So I can write a program to compare x and y and get to print for me the answer of the operation using the if statement. So I can say, okay, if, so like you remember here, we said you write the if word, then you give your condition. So I'll finish writing the if word. Now I have to write a condition. So the condition is now the comparison operation or something like that. So my condition is, or the condition which I want the program to depend on to print what I want it to print in the if block is if x is greater than y. Okay. So that is the condition. That is my condition. So the condition is done. After writing the condition, you end it with a semicolon. So, okay. So that is the first line of code for writing, for dealing with if statements. So after that, when you're in VS Code or one of most of those Python IDEs, when you press enter here, you just realize that on the next line, there is some indentation. So this indentation is healthy. You don't need to be worried. Also, although we said that when you're writing Python codes, you have to be careful with indenting your code. So when you're dealing with conditional statements, this is one of those few scenarios where you have to indent your code, and it happens automatically. So in Python, we don't have semicolons or something like that to define a block of code. But when this code is indented up to here, it means whatever you will write here, beginning from where the cursor is, will be executed if this condition is true. I hope that is clear. But then if you come back here to the starting of the line, that code won't be executed if the condition is met. So if you want any code to be executed if your condition is met, you have to write it beginning from there. So I wanted to print something for me and say x is greater than y, and that is it. So that is it. I can run this. Okay. Okay. It is running. Yeah, we are getting x is greater than y. And indeed it is true because x is 40 and y is 30. So it has printed this output because this condition is true. If it was false, we were not going to see anything. So let me make it false and you see. So let me give it x. So I'm saying if you find out that x is less than y, then if you find out that x is less than y, then print x is greater than y. Okay, this sounds weird, but since the condition won't be met, won't be having anything. So this is not logical here. Okay, yeah, it is running, and you see we've not gotten any return. We've gotten nothing. So yeah, that is how it works. Let me put back the greater than. When you put back the greater than, we are getting x is greater than y. So I told you whatever code you want to be printed, if this condition is true, you write it beginning from this point here. So let me write any other thing that I would like to print. Okay. Okay. Okay, you can see even this second line is also executed, or it's also printed here. But now, let me have another line. But then when I'm beginning from the extreme end, I print and say end of program. End of program. When I save and run, you're seeing it is also printed. But this one will be printed whether the condition is true or false. So even if we get a false answer, still end of program will be printed because it is not part of the if block. For it, it is independent. It is a code on its own. So let me make it false and you see. If x is less than y, okay. So you can see for it here, we are getting only end of program and we are not getting whatever I put inside the if block because this condition returned false. So if the condition returns true, you get whatever is printed inside here, then the compiler proceeds to print what is down. And what is down is here. Then if it is false, it just ignores what is inside the if block and proceeds to printing the next line, which next line happens to be this one. I hope, guys, this is okay. So that is the syntax for if. We are saying during compile time, x greater than y is replaced by the Boolean value that is true or false. For this case, it will be replaced by true, and hence the if block will execute. Remember, we said that if the condition evaluates to true, the block of code within the if statement is executed. If it is false, the code block is skipped. So I hope we saw from our comparison operation last week that if you find out that x is greater than y, the whole of this will be replaced by true. So in our program here, when it is executing, the compiler translates this into true. Okay, let me put the greater than for now. The compiler translates this to true because this condition is true. So for it will be seeing if true, then print this. But if it is false, the whole of this will be replaced by the Boolean value false. And hence, whatever is in this block of code will not be executed. So that's how the if statement works. Just note that if the condition is true, whatever is inside here is printed. If false, the block of code is ignored and the program proceeds to execute the next line of code. Okay. Then let's look at if else. So the if else is a better alternative to the if statement. Why? The if else statement allows you to execute one block of code if the condition is true, and another block and another if the condition is false. So we are seeing here that when x is greater than y, when this condition was met, it was printing something. But when it was false, nothing logical was printed. Nothing informative was printed. But we would like to get some output if at all the output is false. Okay, so that is why we have if else. So let's look at how if else works. Okay. Let me paste my variables here. Okay, I don't have them yet. We have them. Okay, it's wrong indentation here. Okay, so we want to use what am I doing? Okay, we want to see how if else works. If else, this is the syntax. You'll still write if, you give your condition, then you give the code which you want to be executed if the condition evaluates to true. Then you can write as many lines of code that you want to be executed as long as they are correctly indented like this. Then the else part, this code will be executed if the condition is false. And you can also write as many lines of code as you desire to. Okay, so let's start off. You can say if x is greater than y. So when you look at our variables here, this will definitely return true because x is greater than y. So if that is so, you print and say x is greater than y. So that is if that condition is true. Then I can also add another line of code here. Oh, I can also add another line of code here and say the condition evaluated to true. Okay, what's this? Okay, the condition evaluated to true. Then this is just the if. This is what will be executed if our condition here evaluates to true. Now, how about if the condition is false? Let's say it has found out that x is not greater than y. It is returning a false. So that's when we have the else part. So we just write else, then colon, then the code for the else block is also indented up to there. So print and say x is, okay, we can say y is greater than, y is greater than x. So, okay, that is that. Let me first comment out this so that it is not printed. So let's run this code and we see what happens. Okay, you see we are getting x is greater than y. The condition evaluated to true. Let's also add here and something like this. Let me just copy this. Save. Okay, we've seen that it has told us x is greater than y, the condition evaluated to true. So you can see only this block of code has been printed because the condition was true. Now let's try to give it the false part. Let's give it x. Okay, we can leave this to this and we just change these values. For example, we can make y to be 50. So if we make y to be 50, you can see that now this condition will return false because we are asking, is x greater than y? No, this will return false because y is 50 and x is 40. So this block of code will not be executed, but we expect this else part to be executed. Let's run this and see. You'll see we're getting y is greater than x. The condition evaluated to true. Sorry, this is supposed to be false. Okay. Yeah, you're seeing y is greater than x, the condition evaluated to false. So guys, that's how the if-else statement works. Then we have if-elif-else statement. So with if-elif-else statements, it allows us to test more than one condition at a time. You can see here we have if condition one. So if the first condition is true, the block of code put inside this block is executed. If the second condition is true, the code put here is executed. You can have as many elifs as possible. You can have as many conditions you test here as possible, but your final condition, you can just call it else. So let's try to test it here. For the meantime, let me comment out this also. So we want to see how the if-elif-else works. We can have here a number as 20, as x. Okay, let me call it m equals to 20. And then I start saying if, then I give my condition. Which condition do I want to test it? If m is greater than, if m is greater than 0, then print m is positive. M is positive. Okay, so that is the first block here. That is the first block. Now let me go to the elif block. I want to test another condition here. If this condition is not true, this one here will be evaluated. Elif print. Okay, sorry. Elif m is less than 0. Okay, we can say, what do you call numbers which are less than 0? M is negative. M is negative. Then finally, we can even have another elif here. We can have another elif here. We can say if m equals to 0, we are using two equals here because here we use conditional operators or relational operators. So if m is equals to 0, we print m is 0. M is 0. Then finally, we have to give the else part. We can say else. Finally, we have to give the else part. I'm going to explain what will be happening here. We can say m is not an integer. Save. Now we are going to run and see. Okay. So you see we are getting m is positive because you can see it here, m is positive. Let me give it a negative value, negative 30. You see we are getting m is negative. Let me give it a 0. We're getting m is 0. Let me give it something like what? Okay, something which is like this. Okay. Okay, we're even getting an error because it is expecting a string, sorry, an integer. Okay, so at this level, we can just have this as the else part. We can just have this as the else part, else. Then we cut off this. Okay. Oh, where is the error still coming from? If m equals to 0. Okay, for the else part, we don't put the condition and carry it with it. So you see, we are getting m is positive. When you keep changing this value, it keeps changing what is printed for you. So how does this work? We are testing here more than one conditions. We are testing different conditions here. If this first condition is true, then it just prints this and doesn't bother checking these other conditions. If this condition is false, it will try to check this one. If this one is true, it will just print here and won't check what is here. If this is false, that is when it comes out to check this else part. So all of these are conditions. So you're telling it that if you find out that m is greater than 0, print what is here, or do what we are, what the code here says you do. Then if m is less than 0, then handle this part. Else, if none of these conditions are true, just print this. So that is how the if-else condition, that is how the if-else statement works. Okay, I hope that part is okay. Just know that you can have as many you can have as many conditions as possible. You just keep using the elif word. This elif, just keep using the elif word. Then you put your condition, but you just ensure that your last condition, which might be the default, is else part. And with else, you don't put a condition. You just say, if all of these are not true, anything else you get, just print what is here. Okay, let's jump into something else. Nested if. So you can place if statement inside another, allowing for more complex decision making. So nested if, do you have bit syntax here? Yeah, you have a condition 1, and then inside the block of condition 1, still you insert another if statement with the second condition. So here, this code will be executed if and only if both of these conditions are true. I hope that is fine. If the first one is true, but the second one is not true, then it will print whatever is here, but what is inside this second condition won't be executed. Let's try out with this one. We can have what? Let me first comment out this part we are done covering. Okay. Okay, I can bring back these variables, x equals to 40, y equals to 30, z equals to z equals to 10. Then I want to evaluate more than one condition at the same time. That's when we use the nested if. So let me say if x is greater than y. What did I write? If x is greater, if x is greater than y, if x is greater than y, okay, if x is greater than y, now we want to introduce the second condition. If x is greater than y, we want to check also if x is greater than z. If x is greater than z, then we print x is greater, x is the greatest number of the, x is the greatest number of the three. X is the great, yeah, I hope you're seeing that. So at first, we are going to first check whether x is greater than y. And if x is greater than y, then we enter and check the second condition here. And when you check the second condition, is x greater than z? Yes. So this is true, and also this is true. So what is inside here will be printed. So let's check at the point when this first condition is true, but the second condition is false. There we can even have another code here. Okay, should we maybe put this in the else block for this? We can have it in the else block. Okay, let's just have it up here to avoid complication, making it too complicated. So we can say print x is greater, x is greater than y. So seeing we're having both of these printed, x is greater than y, and then x is the greatest number of the three. So let's make this one false. We are asking, is x less than z? This is automatically false. You see, we are just having x is greater than y, but we are not having this part because this condition is not met. But let's have when the second condition is true. Oh, what did I do? Let's have when the second condition is true, but the first one is false. Oh, when you save and run, we are getting nothing. So we are getting nothing because this first condition is false. So if this first condition or the outermost condition is false, the compiler does not enter to check what is inside here. So even if this one is true, but since this one is false, there is no need to check it. You just continue executing. I can even put for you the dummy code down here which will be printed regardless of which condition is met and which one is not met. End of program. So you're seeing here we're just getting end of program because this outermost condition is not met. In other words, it is false. So that is just how the nested if works. Just know that for this one is like the parent if condition. Condition 1 is the parent if condition, and condition 2 is the child if condition. So if the parent if condition is false, the compiler does not check the child if condition. So even if this one is true, but this one is false, it doesn't matter. It just won't check it. Okay, that's just how the nested if works. I hope this one is okay. I hope I didn't rush you through. I hope you've gotten this well. Okay, this is the take home for today. So what you will do, you create a Python program that asks the user to input their age. Then use nested if statements to first check if the user is an adult. If the user is an adult, ask them to input their nationality. Then check if the nationality is Ugandan. If it is, print that they are eligible to vote in Uganda. Otherwise, print that they are not eligible to vote in Uganda. If the user is not an adult, print a message stating that they cannot vote. So this part, you will use the nested if to work this out. Then part 2, you will design a simple grading system in Python that prompts the user to input their score out of 100. Then use if, elif, and else statement to determine the corresponding grade based on the following criteria. If the score is greater than or equal to 90, the grade is A. If the score is greater than or equal to 80, the score is B. If the score is greater than or equal to 70, the grade is C. And if the score is greater than or equal to 60, the grade is D. And for any score below 60, the grade is F. Then finally print the user's score along with the assigned grade. So with these conditional statements that we have explored in this video, I believe you can be able to do this take home. If you are stuck at any point, please pose the question in our WhatsApp group. You will be helped, but just ensure that you understand everything very, very well. Okay, so with that, allow me to take a pause. That's it for today. This is the Kab Python series, and my name is Simon. See you next time.